everybody, my name's Leonie and I'm from Amazelab and I'm here today to show you how to make your very own ocean. And I can hear you saying, but how are we going to make our very own ocean? Well, I'm going to show you. As we are doing this experiment and this workshop, I want you to really try and think about reducing the amount of plastic that you use, reusing any that you do use and recycling any that you use as well. So as part of this workshop today, I would like you to use a plastic bottle, a container, anything that you would like to reuse and recycle. So that is the first thing that we are going to need. I am going to reuse this plastic test tube that I have got right here. Now the quantities that you need for this experiment will vary depending on the size of the container that you are using, but do not worry because I will explain that as we go along. So you will need to have a container that you would like to reuse. Now you can keep your ocean in school or at home, but once you are finished with it, do make sure that you recycle the container. Plastics have such a harmful effect on marine life and in our oceans. That is why it is so important that we consider reducing our use, reusing anything that we do use and recycling. We've also had an instance where microplastics have ended up in our marine life, but all of that is extra research that you will be able to do. So we are going to use a plastic container. You're also going to need some food colouring, a bit like what I've got here. Now ideally it will be in the colour of an ocean. I've got an absolutely beautiful greeny blue one here, but do not let that put you off. Just use any food colouring that you have. Do remember that this may get a little bit messy, so make sure that you've asked adult permission and you may want to put a protective covering down where you are completing the workshop. Food colouring can also stain your hands, so you may want to wear gloves. You will also need some water. Now this is water from out of the tap that I've got in my jug here, and you will also need some oil. Now I am using baby oil because it's this nice clear colour. Okay, you can use a different type of oil, it just might look a bit of a funny colour. The first investigation that you can do is looking at the different viscosities of water and of oil. Do they move at the same rate or are they different? And that's another investigation that you could conduct. So we're going to take our container that we would like to reuse. And the first job that we need to do is to take off the lid. Your container will need to have a lid that can be securely fastened, and it will become apparent why later on. So you're going to take your water and you're going to fill your container to around the halfway mark. So again, the quantity of water that you need will vary dependent on the size of the container, but it does not matter how big or how small it is as long as you take your water and you fill it to the halfway mark. So that's what I am going to demonstrate now. I'm going to carefully hold my container, I'm going to take my water and I'm going to fill it to the halfway mark. So can everybody see what I have done there? So as a quick recap, you need your container. We're going to use just some water from the tap and we're going to fill it to the halfway mark of our container. So it should look just like that. Now the next step to making your very own ocean in my test tube or in your bottle or any container that you are using is to add your food colouring. Now I would like you to watch really carefully when you add your food colouring because it does look really quite special, and that is a process that we call diffusion. So take your food colouring and add a couple of drops into your container. So can everybody see, and yours that you're completing, how beautiful it looks when we add our food colouring to our water. Another investigation that you could do there, looking into diffusion, is does it make any difference what temperature the water is to how quickly our food colouring diffuses? So we can see now, can't we, that all of our water has turned into the colour of the food colouring. Now I'd like you all to have a think. The next thing we're going to do is to add our baby oil, our oil, into our container. But what do you think it's going to do? Do you think it's going to mix in, or do you think it might do something else? So that is another task that I would like you to have a think about. So again, just as a quick recap, we should have a container. It should be half filled with water, and it should now have your food colouring in the container. So the next thing we are going to do is we're going to take our oil and we're going to fill it coming just below the top of the container. So make sure you can still put your lid on securely. So taking your oil and adding it into your container. And look what's happening. Wow, was anybody expecting that? It looks a bit like magic, doesn't it? But in fact, it's science. Our oil and water do not mix. These two different types of liquid repel each other, and they are different densities. So now it's really important that we take our lid and we fasten it onto our container securely. And you will see why in a moment. It is really important that that lid is fastened on securely. So it might just be worth checking with an adult that it is fastened on. So again, just to recap where we should be up to, we've got our container, we half filled it with water, we added our food colouring, we then added our oil to the top of the container, leaving enough room to make sure that our lid was very securely fastened. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to now create our ocean. We are going to slowly tilt our ocean and watch as it moves like waves. So make sure that lid's on securely, and look at the bubbles created in our ocean as we flip and turn. How amazing is that? You have all now created your very own ocean to have at home, and you can use this as a reminder to make sure that we are reusing, reducing and recycling. And it is via science and density as to how we have made our very own ocean at home. I hope that everybody has really enjoyed creating your very own ocean during today's workshop session. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!